energy. I'm glad you're here. Today's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Some of the things that we're going to share with you. So this is our Internet and Social Media Safety Assembly. And we're taking a little different approach this year. And we're going to use some tools, some technology tools to help guide this presentation. And so I'm going to get started. I'll be working some of this as well. I want to introduce Amy Iverson. She'll talk a little bit more about herself and her expertise. We got a fan crowd. We are very, very fortunate to have Amy with us. She has extensive knowledge in this area. She's a parent in our school, and so we're grateful for her time and effort to be with us today and help this presentation. So, being that we had you pull out your phones, we are going to use them. Stay focused on what we're doing. Don't get distracted by them, the very thing we're going to be talking about today. But I want to start today just telling you we're really excited about what we have to share. This is a very exciting time in society and history. The changes that have come over the last 15 years are quite extensive. You know, if you think about it, it was the early 1800s when the train was invented. Some of the most significant inventions in the world, you know, from transportation, going from the train to the car to the airplane, those are some of the most significant things that have transpired in our history that have changed the face of society. It took over 100 years for those things to develop and to be invented and be what they are today. Something that even has shaped our society even more has been the invention of the iPhone. And with the iPhone came the invention of social media. And so we're excited to talk about that change. And that change has been so rapid, it's happened in the last 15 years. And that has been such a significant change in our society, and that's why we want to talk about it. So with today, we're going to share some of the positives of social media, some of the concerns, and we're going to begin with a question, our first quiz question, and see how you guys do. Question is, what is the biggest benefit of social media and texting? Got a couple more. Everybody answer? I think it's quite obvious what we all think, that one of the greatest benefits of social media is the connection in the social life, which is in essence kind of the same thing. But the connecting between people, and that's one of the huge benefits of social media. It's not going away. We're not going to sit here and tell you that all social media is bad. There's a lot of positive about it, and we want to help you and empower you that this part of your life is a positive, that you avoid the pitfalls, and it is a positive aspect of your life so that you get the connection, the right kind of connection that you're seeking for on social media. And it's not a negative connection, and there's not things that bring about negative consequences, but there's a positive side of social media, which is the connection. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So, Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
Buddy, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Amy Iverson, and I am actually now doing internships for juniors and seniors, so you can come talk to me about that. But most of my career has been in journalism, and for the better part of 10 years, I've been reporting about technology. And I want to tell you something that back when my older kids were in high school, I had a reputation as the second strictest parent of the school. Who's Connor Clegg's siblings? Your mom was the strictest. That was the deal. But I was the second strictest, and a lot of that had to do with social media and phones because I knew a lot of things that other parents didn't know, and it scared me. And so I had a lot of bans and restrictions on my kids that other parents didn't know to do and didn't do, and so that's why I got that reputation. But I have good news for you, because over the years, these technology companies have helped us as parents that we can put a little bit of restrictions. It's helped you guys that you can put a little bit of restrictions on yourselves so that maybe we don't have to have the all-out bans, okay? So this is all a positive thing for you. But even though they're a positive and that connection that we talked about, we know that a lot of you have found connection online that you weren't finding in real life, and that's okay. That's okay. But we have to talk about some of the negatives. And so that's our next question that we're going to do is, what are some of the negatives? So think about that for a second, and we're going to give you some multiple choice questions or answers that you can put in on this. But really think about, there are some negatives to social media and texting and technology, and so what is your pick? People aren't as quick to answer this one. It's harder.
And just in case you don't know, which I'm sure you do, FOMO. What is it?
What's FOMO, everybody?
What's FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
Okay, so obviously there's a clear winner here too. Lowering your self-esteem. Let's talk about that for a minute. Riley, why do you think it lowers your self-esteem?
Because you're like comparing yourself to everyone else, I guess.
Yeah, comparison. Comparison kills character. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But comparison is a hard thing. And let me tell you something that I learned, because this happens to me too. There are certain people that I was following on my public Instagram, say, and every time I looked at their feed, I felt bad. And maybe that was that, it was the comparison that I'm like, oh, I don't go on as cool of vacations as them, I don't have as cool of clothes as them, whatever that stupid comparison is. And guess what I started doing? I started unfollowing those people. And that's such an easy thing to do, that if there's someone that every time you look at their feed, you just feel bad, unfollow them. There is no bad thing about that. You can unfollow. And none of the rest of them even come close.
Hey.
It's that self-esteem.
Let me just mention something real quick. The nature of our presentation today is engaging. When you're on the phones answering the questions, you're welcome to discuss and talk. After that, students, you need to be quiet. So if you can't handle both, we won't have you participate. So those in the back, shh. When she's talking, please listen. Okay, continue, please.
Okay. The other thing is, sometimes there are reasons, like the reason I put FOMO up here in trolls is because sometimes your lack of esteem goes down because people are just being mean to you online. My other advice besides unfollowing is just blocking. Block and report, block and report, block and report. I've said that to people in here when they have told me about things that are happening online. I'll say it to you. Block and report. You have to do both of those things to be effective. And then those other things do come into play too, because if you're not getting enough sleep and you're not paying attention to your privacy, those things can contribute to your lack of self-esteem in that one. So we're going to show you a little video that we had some of the students here put together. And what this is about is, I want you to think too, because what contributes to that a lot of times is you put something out there that people make fun of, or that humiliates you, or something you thought was private. And we know, right, that nothing you put online or text to someone or a DM to someone is ever private. Nothing, okay? Even if that person doesn't share it, guess what? These technology companies keep those things. So nothing you put online is private, and here's an example of how that happens.
I'm currently reading an article on why subboys don't grow chest hair.
Oh my gosh, boys, my heart rate's 169, 168, 175.
My car is 150 feet away. It's unlocked and my AirPods are inside. At 7:15 last night, I purchased zit cream, a tongue scraper, and matching sweaters for me and my cats.
have this class together. I know. I just don't like how we have to sit next to Matic. I was researching clinical strength deodorant today.
E equals MC squared. Yeah, Briggs.
My password for everything is Wrestle My Muscles 14. Except for Gmail, that one's mommy knows.
You have to think of everything you send as that going public. And we want to thank Mr. Davis and all those kids for putting that together. Yeah.
Okay, the next section we're going to talk about is safety specific. All right, so when they're talking about safety, I've got a couple questions. Our next question. All right. Which social media app do you use the most? We want to see where most of high school students spend their time. Oh, it's a race between Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Twitter's falling asleep. Snapchat's in the lead. Instagram, TikTok, stuck together. Oh, Instagram. It's a pretty good balance. All right. So it looks like Snapchat being the leading, but wouldn't you agree probably the three of them? If anybody, are they pretty equal for yourself? Do you spend a balance of time, or is Snapchat consuming most of your time? Snapchat? Why? Why is Snapchat? So just give me one comment, somebody. Why is Snapchat the most leading used app right now? What? Communication? Is that the main source of communication between high school students right now? Well, that's very interesting to know between the three of them. Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, falling off Facebook, they're done, which is interesting, but people like Amy already knew that. Do you have any comments about the three of those? Anything from your knowledge or experience?
Well, I don't think there's any surprise here.
No.
I mean, Facebook's for grandmas now, and everyone's using Snapchat. I guess I would say, though, just be mindful of your friends who don't have these and include them. Because if everything happens on Snapchat, there are people left out. So that's just my plea.
That's a great point. Think about that. There's some of the students here that don't have those. Okay, shh. Thank you. There's some that don't have that, so just be aware, be sensitive to that, make sure that we're including students and kids that don't have that. So, all right, our next question. I'm curious to know of the following social media apps, which do you consider the most dangerous? Some people are picking on Grandma's Facebook. Okay, it looks like, as you continue to answer, pretty overwhelming that the number one app that gets used is also considered the most dangerous. Isn't that interesting? Also considered the most dangerous. I can't remember on our question if we were going to ask the why, but I can't remember if our question had that. If it was next, so I think So this next question gives us a little more information about this. Why do you believe the previous app is so dangerous? That's what we want to know. Bullying, comparison, explicit images, creepers, or if it's addictive. So this is specifically answering why is Snapchat so dangerous? All right, so it looks like so far creepers is taken over. So this is something to be mindful of. All right. Good job. Thank you for being able to bring it back down after you answer these questions. So it's to be mindful of that there are people out there. Amy's going to talk about that a little bit more, about the dangers that can come about through social media, specifically involved with creepers. The images, once again, a reminder, anything you post on social media is forever. Even if you think in some way the image will be erased and somebody else won't see it, anything you put on there can come back and probably will come back to you at some point in your life. There's no safety net on social media. You're flying without a net. You're walking a line without a net, because everything's going to come back. So you have to be mindful of that when you're creating posts and information, the things that you're saying, the language that you're using, all of that can come back on you. And you live in a digital world, and it will stay around. So just remember that.
Okay. To me, these two go together, right? Creepers and explicit images. Those things go together to me because in my experience, and yeah, even though I'm like 50, I get asked, right? That's what leads to requests for explicit images, are those creepers who pop into your DMs, which I find interesting because on Snapchat, really you should only be friends with people who are your friends, right? Or you have to have mutual friends. So it's interesting to me that you're saying Snapchat is the most dangerous, and yet that's where we're most afraid of creepers. Let's pull up that next question. Because I am curious, because I think I know the answer to this, but I do want to know how many of you guys have had a stranger reach out to you on social media. It's happened to me lots of times. Now, I do have some accounts that are public. I'm hoping you guys have a lot of private accounts. But answer my question. Yeah, this isn't a surprise to me. My encouragement to you is that when strangers reach out to you on instant messages or DMs or try to friend you, no matter how hot they are,
Okay, pull it back.
you don't friend them. You should not be friending people who aren't your friends in real life on social media. You shouldn't. Because that's what leads to the other stuff that can be really scary. Let's do the next question, because I'm curious how this has changed over time with regards to how much this is happening. But answer honestly, remember this is anonymous. Have you been the one who's asked? Maybe cover your phone if you're answering yes on that one. Or have you been asked to send inappropriate messages? I know that kids I've talked to say it happens to almost everybody. Okay, well, this is promising. Promising, but still a hefty number of people who have asked or been asked. Riker, I'm not saying you've asked someone. What's your advice to people if this comes up?
Say no.
When Riker gets asked, he's gonna say no. Like I said before, Every single thing you private message to someone or text to someone is not private. And what I want you guys to think of here in the Camas Valley is that everything you text and every picture you send and every DM is on the billboard by Foodtown. How do you feel about that? You have to think about that before you hit send, that it's on the billboard. And I asked Kaylee, what? Oh, not yet. I asked Kaylee Burton, is she around? This one. So I reached out to some former students because I knew there were stories out there, and I didn't want to make any of you share your personal stories. So this is a story that a former student wrote out for me of something that happened to her. She graduated just within the past 5 years. And Kaylee's going to tell it in first person. This did not happen to Kaylee, but a former student.
Okay. I wasn't supposed to have Snapchat. My mom didn't want me to have it, but I got it anyway and hid it from her. A cute guy from Park City High School added me and we started chatting. I didn't know him, but we must have had some mutual friends or something. I was so flattered that he liked me and we stepped back and forth a lot. He told me how hot I was, how pretty I was, and it made me feel good. He kept asking for more and more pictures of me. Then he told me he didn't want photos of just my face. Let me see that bod, he said. I sent him a picture of me in the mirror, but he wanted to see more of my body, without so many clothes on. He liked me. I wasn't dumb enough to take photos without any clothes on, but I did send shots in my bra and underwear. When I went to work the next week, one of my coworkers, who also went to Park City, showed me a picture of a guy and asked if I knew him. Yeah, we've been snapping, I said. He's cute. My coworker informed me that this guy I'd been messaging was not who he pretended to be. He let me know that my Snapchat friend had shared the half-dressed pic with tons of guys at Park City High School. I was humiliated. I tried to message him about it, but he ghosted me.
So things can get bad. Luckily, she was not stupid enough to send something completely unclothed, but things can get bad, and then things can get worse, and then things can be the worst case scenario. And I wanted to share a story that some parents came public with up in Davis County a few years ago. This was 5 years ago at a high school in Davis County. And they, we're 10 minutes behind, girls, but thank you. So they're giving my time cues. So what happened, this guy's name was Tevin, he's 16. No history of substance abuse or depression or anything. Of course, like honor student, undefeated wrestler. And what happened was he started chatting with a girl online who he didn't know. She was hot. And chatting. It kind of evolved like that story I just told you that was local, where she wants pictures, and then she sends a video, completely inappropriate video. Okay, I don't know, they didn't share the details of that. Wants him to send a video back, and so he does. But what the police and the parents found out later was that, of course, this was just a file. This wasn't even, we don't know if this was a girl. This was some person in Africa who had reached out to Tevin and sent him this video. As soon as Tevin sent that video, the blackmail started. And they said, send us money now, or we're going to share your video on the billboard in Camas. No, but think about it that way. We're going to share your video with your friends. We're going to share your video on your social, because hackers can do that, right? So he sent every penny he had saved. And that was not enough, of course, and they wanted more, and they wanted more, and they badgered, and they badgered. They were texting him sometimes every 30 seconds. You're gonna go to jail. Everyone's gonna hate you. Everyone's gonna think you're so stupid. Send us money, send us money, send us money. You might as well kill yourself. Tevin killed himself. From the moment that this person in Africa reached out to Tevin online to the time he took his own life was 2 weeks. His parents had no idea. He was embarrassed. He didn't want to tell his friends. None of his friends knew this was happening. He didn't want to tell his family. They didn't know this was happening. His mom said, I can't believe you didn't tell me. We talked about everything. Okay, so lots of lessons to learn here, but 2, I already told you, don't friend people you don't know. In both of these stories, you see people aren't always who they pretend to be online, okay? If you don't know them in real life, don't friend them. Second thing, if you mess up, reach out to somebody, okay? I've heard a million of these stories. You can come talk to me. You can talk to a parent. You can talk to a friend. You can talk to a coach. You can talk to anyone you trust, a church leader, because nothing is so bad that you need to take your life. Or there's other things that aren't that bad, but are still bad. If you mess up, it's okay. Come talk to one of us, and we will help you out. So I talked about the billboard and canvas. I'm going to show you. This is what I want you to think of. Every time you post something, DM something, video, take a picture, whatever, I want you to think WWGT. What would Grandma think? That's what I want you to think about. So maybe it's Grandma Emma, it's me, it's Grandma Stephanie, it's Grandma Brinley? Is that your name? Brittany? Brinley? I'm sorry, cutie. Think of your grandma. What would she think if she drove by the billboard in canvas and saw it there? WWGT.
I want to give one thing for you to think about in conjunction with what Amy just said. I want you to think about staying in the lifeboat, okay, in the safety of family, friends, appropriate things, school, all of those things. You need to stay within the safety of the confines of the lifeboat, because if you get out and you get into the water and you put yourself in danger, you're swimming with the sharks. And those sharks are out there looking for victims. Millions of people out there just looking to try to catch you in a moment of stupidity, in a moment of lapsed judgment, especially at night when you're late, when it's late, you're tired, you make just a small error in judgment to do or say something. They're looking for that. And as soon as you give them any ammunition, any blood in the water, they attack. Protect yourself. Don't put things out there. Don't respond. Just remember, texting, anything on social media, you're putting yourself out there. Keep it safe. Keep it conservative to the people that you know and trust, and be appropriate. All right, our next section, our next question is about cyberbullying. And I'm curious, once again, this is anonymous, so answer truthfully. Have you ever participated in cyberbullying as a sender or receiver? We want to know how many have been affected within this school population by what any of us might define as cyberbullying. Many times, this cyberbullying, which is promising, I'm glad to see that there's a larger majority that claim they've not been a part of that, giving or receiving, but it does still say that there is a large majority of you who have been affected by this. And one of the major ways today, good job, thank you. One of the major ways that this happens today is the creation of fake accounts that people make for that direct purpose of being able to act anonymously online under fake pictures and fake names and be able to navigate and do things anonymously. That creates so much hurt and so much damage in people's lives today. And I'm sure that there's some that have gone there, but my encouragement to you, if you have done that, is to get rid of those anonymous accounts and stay true to yourself. Because this is extremely damaging, just like the stories that Amy just shared. They can lead to the ultimate consequence of life lost, but it can leave unending pain for people. And if you've been one that's experienced it and received it, you know. And I would love to hear, but we're not going to go there. But just know, okay, you are not defined by what happens online. You can be above that. Do not let cyberbullying take you down. Don't let it carry, you don't have to carry that baggage. So just be aware of cyberbullying and the effects that it has, and do everything you can to, number one, avoid being the giver. But if you happen to be the receiver, disconnect. Unfriend. Distance yourself from anything that causes you to feel negative about yourself or in any situation. Just disconnect. That is one of the positives of social media and texting. You don't have to receive those messages. You can just disconnect. You don't need to stay friends with those that make you feel bad. Amy, you're up on mental health.
Okay, I want everyone to go to their settings in their phone. Everyone go to your settings. We're going to look up how much time we're spending on our phones. Okay? I'm sorry. Adults should do this too.
Yes, teachers, we encourage you to do the same thing.
So go to your settings. I don't own an Android, but I looked this up. So if you have an Android, go to Digital Wellbeing, and then go to Dashboard and look under Screen Time. So Android users, Digital Wellbeing Dashboard. iPhone users, you go to Screen Time. Scroll down, it's purple. Go to Screen Time and see all activity. Now this is what I want you to do. I'm looking for a weekly...
We got to take it down.
I don't know why this is
So you
doing
can hear.
that speaker, maybe. I'm looking for a weekly number. So you might have to do a little math. If it's giving you a daily number, and times it by 7. You should be able to do that in your head. Can anyone not find their screen time? Rowan, you got yours? Okay. Okay, so we're going to answer the next question, Shad, which is weekly. How much time? Oh, no, I worded it wrong. Everyone, rewind. I want you to know daily. So, sorry, if you're looking at a weekly number, you got to divide that by 7. Use your fingers if you have to. Use your phone, calculator if you have to. I'm wanting a daily number. How much time per day have you spent on your phone in the past week? Okay? We're going to answer this. My number is high. I will tell you that, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
How much time per day?
Per day. So remember, you got to divide if you're looking at a weekly. Oh, it's taking a little longer for people to do math. Teachers, I don't see you looking this up on your phones. Come on. I'm curious. Chris is looking. Principal, are you looking it up? What number are you at? It's too high. He's in the more than 8 hours. Okay, so this is per day. Now, mind you, you're never supposed to be on your phone at school, right? So 3 to 5 is the majority. I'm kind of like, I'm a little proud of that number of you guys. You go home, by 3 o'clock you're on your phone, and maybe you're off by 8 o'clock. Does that sound about right? Okay, I don't know your name. What's your name?
Dante.
Dante, what was your number? Can you tell us?
3 to 5.
Okay. What would you say, can you look on there, what was the majority of your time on? It didn't show up. He's guessing. Okay. The majority of mine is on podcasts because I listen to a lot of podcasts. So mine's actually probably more than 8 hours because I'm listening to podcasts a lot or I'm looking at educational things, right? You too? Well, this is what I want you to look at. When we talked about earlier, like that comparison in your lower self-esteem, if you're spending 5 hours a day on Snapchat and comparing yourself to other people, I'm guessing that's not going to be great for your mental health. And I want you to think about how you know if you're addicted, okay? These are some things to think about. If your mom or dad or your guardian restricts your social media for some reason or another, do you get mad? Does it make you like mad, frustrated, depressed? That could be a sign of addiction. Number 2, is it keeping you from important things like sleep and exercise and classwork? That could be a sign of addiction. I had one more here. Loss of control. If you are always thinking about it, if you're wondering, oh, I gotta get that Snapchat streak, or I gotta see how many likes that post got, or whatever. Okay, those are things you gotta check yourself with. And if it's impeding the normal things in your life, you gotta check yourself, and let me tell you how. Your phones make it really easy. Those places I told you to go, digital well-being and screen time, those have little controls you can set, and you can say, I'm only going to be on my phone this many hours a day, or I'm only going to be gaming this many hours a day, or I'm only going to be on social media this many hours a day. How proud would your parents be if you set those controls yourself? Your parents may not even know they exist.
Okay.
So how proud would they be if you set those yourself and you went and you were like, look, Mom, I'm only going to be on social an hour a day. Okay. I told you earlier I was going to elaborate on comparison kills character, and let me tell you how I think that happens. We talked about what Riley said, comparing up, so you're feeling bad about yourself because you think someone has it better than you, but it's also the other way. If all of your posts are to make other people jealous, to make other people think you're awesome, that's not good either. So I'm urging you not to compare. And again, if you're looking at those people's accounts and it's making you feel bad, unfollow. It's no big deal. They probably won't even know. And you'll have better mental health.
So, as I mentioned at the very beginning, the rapid pace of development and the influence of social media on our society in the last 15 years has changed things quicker, more intense than anything else in history. But one of the challenges that we face, and when I say we, we're now talking about the adults that are in the room and the parents that are at home. One of the challenges that we face as adults is we didn't get to grow up with it like you have. I was 29 years old when the iPhone came out. I spent most of my life, my adolescence, I didn't have influences of that. Okay, I lived lived a different childhood than you have. I didn't have the intensity, the influences that what you deal with. But now as an adult, and I'm working with you, and your parents are in the same boat, we're doing our very best to help you guide your moral compass through a different world than what we grow up in. And so we are doing everything that we can to help support you in that world. And I'm curious, the last question that we have is regarding your parents. We want to know about parent involvement with social media or the digital world in general. So the last question is, we want to know how involved your parents are in this conversation in your life. How often do your parents talk with you about the good and the bad of technology, social media? Daily, weekly, monthly, every couple months, and maybe they don't talk to you at all. They just leave you to do your thing. It looks like a pretty good balance. I think the unfortunate side of that far right column is growing. But we can understand why a parent might not take the initiative to talk to a child, because it's not something they might be familiar with. They might not even be aware. They might not even know what Snapchat is. So this is where you have to take initiative in your own life and take a responsibility and accountability. Listen to people who are giving you direction, who are trying to help you navigate this, because it will have effects for the rest of your life. That's pretty interesting. Pretty balanced across there, but a lot of you, 53 of you, don't ever get talked to from your parents about the dangers. So I'm hoping you're specifically listening today. If you're not getting any parent involvement, the other side of this is our intention is to be able to take a similar presentation and hold a parent night. And what we want to do is take all of this information that you have shared today and give perspective to parents. We want to give perspective to them of the influence and the challenges that you face. And when we ask them a question, how often do you talk with your teenagers? Do you think it'll reflect this, or do you think it'll be different? It'll probably be different. They'll probably think that they talk to you a lot about it, but in reality, maybe they're not addressing it as often as they could because they're living their lives, they're doing the best that they can. So you have to take initiative for responsibility of the digital world that you live in, the effect it has on you now, and the effect it'll have on you in the future. So we want to finish today with a couple things, and these came from public profiles. They don't even know if they've ended up in here.
Sorry, I didn't give you warning, but your
We didn't give you
profile
warning.
is public,
And
so
that's
that
what she
means
got.
the whole world can see it anyway.
The reason we put this up there is a positive. The positive effects of social media. It's a wonderful thing when something goes on and is positive, and you can see, we put on here the comments that are so positive and build you up. This is an accolade for the person posting and the people that responded because of the positive nature. We want to encourage you to focus and use these types of positive things on social media. This was a very, very cool event between North and South Summit at the game. Kudos to cheerleaders and what they did here, and all of the positive things that are said here and can build each other up. We wanted to encourage more of this in social media. Very proud of our teams and the people that are responding and building each other up. Yeah, Mr. Davis. He's got a great presence online and all the positive things that are here. Think about, this isn't something we had to worry about when we were growing up. We didn't know, that it wasn't even a term back then, what digital footprint means. But you have to worry about it. Your future opportunities can be shaped by the things that you're doing on social media today. Future job opportunities, future college opportunities. Nowadays, the way that they look at applications into these important parts of life is they Google you. On social media, online, and anything that you've posted is fair game to determine who you were and who you are. And that will come back. So think about that. And we want to encourage you to use social media as a positive tool. Beware of the people out there, the creepers, whether it be Snapchat or any other element. Avoid them. Stay away from the people that are bringing you down in cyberbullying. And just be aware of your digital footprint because it's something that doesn't go away. We want to thank you for being here today. I hope that what the information, some insights, some perspective have triggered some thoughts in the way that you're managing yourself online. Be careful, be safe, be positive. Thank you. Have a great day.